She found him in the snow, bleeding, half dead, and he lied to her face the moment he opened his eyes. A butcher's daughter drags a fallen marquise out of the cold and they fall in love. But she doesn't know who he is, and he lets her believe the lie for a very, very long time. One extraordinary woman with a butcher's knife and absolutely zero patience for nonsense. And a man who didn't know he needed saving until a girl covered in pig blood dragged him out of a snowbank and changed his whole life. Fan Changyu had every reason to keep walking. She and her little sister, Zhanglinghe, had just been orphaned. Their parents had been killed by bandits. The Fan family meat shop was the only thing she had left. The sensible thing was to mind her own business. She tripped over an unconscious man half buried in the snow. She saw the jade hairpin clutched in his hand. It looked exactly like her mother's. She took it as a sign that her mother wanted her to save him. She dug him out, carried him home. Mrs. Zhao took one look at the situation and told her to bring the stranger to her house instead. A young woman couldn't be seen sheltering a strange man. Mr. Zhao was a doctor. He treated the wound and told her the medicine would be expensive. She went and pawned her mother's jade hairpin to pay for the medicine, the same hairpin that had drawn her to him in the snow. She handed it over the counter without flinching and walked back home with the silver. That same day, government officials came through the village looking for illegal refugees. The penalty was conscription. She hid him in the pig pen. The smell did the work for her. When the man opened his eyes and she asked his name, he told her, Yan Zheng, a refugee. He'd lost his travel documents in the chaos of war. He wasn't lying about everything. He had been ambushed on a battlefield. His loyal guards had died. He'd fallen from a cliff into a river and washed up where she found him. What he didn't say was that his real name was Zhizheng, that he was the Marquis of Wuan, that two powerful court factions were hunting for his body because everyone in the capital believed he was already dead. He had reasons to hide, good ones. And so the lie began. Changyu had her own problems. Her uncle, a man with no shame, and the Jin gang of debt collectors at his back, was trying to take the family house deed. The law was on his side. A single woman couldn't hold property. The only loophole was a matrilocal marriage, a husband who married into her family rather than the other way around. The Zhao couple took one look at the handsome refugee they were nursing and decided he was the answer. Changyu was too proud to ask. She told Mrs. Zhao the man was like a piece of tallow-white jade, beautiful, lustrous, and not something she felt she deserved. She practiced her proposal on a piglet to work up the nerve. Yan Zheng overheard the whole thing. When she finally brought him soup and tried to ask, he agreed before she could finish the sentence. The arrangement was simple. She'd marry him, he'd stay long enough for her to secure the deed, then he'd be free to go. Clean, practical, no feelings involved. That plan lasted approximately 48 hours. He started noticing things about her. The way she handled knives, her fighting stance, her footwork. None of it matched a butcher's daughter. She noticed things about him too. When the Jins came back for the deed and he fought 4 of them despite his injuries, she caught him covering it up. He told her he used to be an armed escort. She let him have the lie. When her ex-fiancé Song Yan showed up offering her the consolation prize of becoming his concubine, Yan Zheng stepped out and kicked him through the door. He read off, in front of the entire neighborhood, every single thing the Song family had ever owed the fans. Song Yan's new fiancée, the magistrate's daughter, arrived with a purse and threw the money at Changyu's feet. Changyu took only what she was owed, not a coin more. The wedding day came. The neighbors had whispered she'd married an ugly cripple. When Yan Zheng appeared in his wedding robes, every single one of those guests went silent. Even Changyu, who'd been handling him like furniture for weeks, stopped walking for a second. The wedding night was its own kind of comedy. Her aunt and uncle, still suspicious the marriage was a sham, came to peek. Changyu and Yan Zheng spotted them. They threw shadows on the paper window with candlelight to simulate a wedding night that hadn't actually happened. Yan Zheng helped her butcher a pig. He watched her blades more carefully than he should have. Her technique matched a general named He Jingyuan he'd sparred with as a child. He kept his face still. A magnificent white gerfalcon kept perching in the tree outside the house. Changyu trapped it, tried to sell it, then tried to cook it. Yan Zheng negotiated desperately for its release, pretending he knew how to train messenger birds. She handed it over. He immediately started bandaging its foot with the hair ribbon she'd bought him. He was sending coded messages to his men. He used the silver his subordinates quietly delivered to buy back her mother's jade hairpin from the pawn shop and told her he'd sold an essay to a bookstore. He bought firewood and rice and flour and oil for the new year. He bought clam oil for her chapped hands. He told the shopkeeper to say all of it was a gift from her late father, ordered months before he died. He lied to protect her every single time. That same week, her uncle was found dead. The wound didn't match any of her knives. The neighbors spoke up for her alibi, but the magistrate, who happened to be Song Yan's father-in-law, was happy to make trouble. The magistrate's men arrested Chang Yu. Constable Wang was sent to search her home. He arrived to a ransacked house, 3 dead bodies on the floor, and Yan Zheng and Changninghe missing. Wang let Chang Yu out of jail to go find them. She ran for the forest and found Yan Zheng fighting trained killers, Changninghe shaking nearby. They subdued the rest together. The way she moved beside him was the closest he'd gotten to seeing her at her real strength. Back at the house, Yan Zheng examined a whistle one of the assassins had carried. He recognized the mark: Iron Suicide Warriors, the elite agents of his own uncle, Chancellor Wei. They hadn't been sent for him. They'd been sent for something hidden in Chang Yu's house. The next morning, the magistrate came back to arrest Yan Zheng for the murder of the assassins. He ordered 20 lashes to force a confession. Yan Zheng was half ready to fight his way out when his best friend Gong Sun Yin arrived with paperwork from the prestigious Lu Yuan Academy claiming Yan Zheng as a student. The magistrate dropped the case. Yan Zheng promptly collapsed, coughing blood. Gong Sun Yin was a brilliant strategist, the headmaster of Lu Yuan, and someone who took one look at the situation and nearly lost his composure. The notorious Marquis of Wuan, his oldest friend, was now legally married to a female butcher who'd hidden him in a pig pen. He found this both alarming and very funny. Chang Yu was getting ready to close the meat shop when a friend, Chef Li, asked her to come meet his employer. Yu Chengqian owned Yuxiang Restaurant. She was beautiful in a way that quieted a room. She'd arrived in linen years ago, alone and pregnant, and built her business from nothing. She offered Chang Yu a deal: braised meat supplied to the restaurant at a good price. Chang Yu agreed. She needed the travel money. She also needed a friend. The Zhaos, still convinced the marriage was unconsummated, took to peeping at the window. Chang Yu noticed. She decided to give them a show. She climbed onto the bed with Yan Zheng. He pinned her, tired from his injury, and they switched. The candle blew out. The dark made everything sharper. He smelled tangerine candy on her breath and invited her to taste it now. The kiss didn't last long. Assassins came in through the door. Iron Suicide Warriors again. Chang Yu chased one out. Yan Zheng caught another and pinned him to the floor. The assassin recognized the Marquis. He confessed before he died. They had been sent by Chancellor Wei to kill the Fan sisters for a letter. Then he bit a poison capsule. Yan Zheng's wound reopened. He collapsed. Li Huayan arrived. He was the Zhenwei commandant of Jizhu, General He Jingyuan's protege. He forbade Chang Yu from leaving town. Magistrate Kue spotted an illegal ancestral memorial tablet in her house and tried to arrest her. Li Huayan intervened. Then he started investigating Yan Zheng quietly. He had his suspicions about who this refugee really was. In the capital, General He took Li Huayan to an unmarked grave to pay respects. He asked Li Huayan to promise that if anything happened to him, Li Huayan would protect the Fan sisters and keep them out of the political fight. Li Huayan promised. In court, the Li and Wei factions broke into open argument over military provisions. Chancellor Wei Yan invoked an old wound everyone knew not to touch: the Jinzhou massacre 16 years ago. He brought it up anyway. Back at his home, the chancellor sat in a room with his wife, and the cold between them was older than their marriage. A servant brought him a small box. Inside was a blood-stained letter about troop movements from 16 years ago and the tiger seal of the previous dynasty. The sender was General He Jingyuan. The message was a warning. If Wei Yan went after the Fan sisters again, He Jingyuan would expose what really happened at Jinzhou. Wei Yan called Fan Changyu's father a traitor under his breath. Then he made a decision. He'd let the girls live. For now, Li Huayan moved into the house next door to keep watch. He fed Chang Yu a careful lie. The assassins, he said, had been after a treasure map her father had once transported. They'd found it. It should be over now. Yan Zheng overheard the whole conversation through the wall and wondered why Li Huayan was bothering to make up such an elaborate story. Li Huayan had been investigating Yan Zheng. He'd put the pieces together. He came to Yan Zheng to confirm what he already suspected. Yan Zheng didn't deny it. He picked up a teacup, broke it against the table, and pressed the shard to Li Huayan's throat. Then he warned him. As a man, Li Huayan shouldn't be a fence-sitter. As a minister, he shouldn't switch sides frivolously. Li Huayan said his loyalty was to the country and its people. He summoned his black-robed cavalry to a forest clearing. They wanted him to come back to the capital and reclaim his name. He told them to let Wei Xuan keep blundering the army. The chaos would draw the rebel Prince Chengxin out into the open. He ordered them to keep spreading the rumor that the Marquis of Wu'an was dead. The more people who believed it, the better. That same day, Yu Qiangqian insisted on giving Chang Yu a ride home from the restaurant. They were ambushed on the road. Masked men poured out of the trees. They hadn't planned for the elegant restaurant owner to be traveling with a freakishly strong pig butcher. Chang Yu went through the attackers like a storm. Qiangqian watched from the carriage and finally believed every wild rumor she'd heard about her business partner. The leader was a man called Butcher Guo. He'd come prepared. He hit her with a poisoned dart. She dropped where she stood. Yan Zheng heard Qiangqian scream. He arrived, carried Chang Yu home in his arms, walked her past the neighbors without explaining anything, and sat with her until the poison worked itself out. He kept his face calm the whole time. Then he went and found Butcher Guo. He stabbed him. He beat him until the man couldn't move. He would have killed him if Chang Yu hadn't woken up and seen what he was doing. She told him to stop. He stopped because she said so. She stood there in the doorway, watching him kneel over a bleeding man with a calm that no refugee armed escort should have had. She didn't say a word. He had forgotten to hide his hinges. She'd seen everything. At the restaurant a few days later, Mrs. Song, Chang Yu's former mother-in-law, dined with her wealthy friends and made a spectacle of humiliating her former daughter-in-law in front of them. Changqian stepped in to defend Chang Yu. The bullying shifted to Changqian, the women tearing into her for being an unwed mother with a child of unknown father. A silver-haired stranger in the corner of the restaurant overheard every word. Min now knew there was a child. Min's pursuit intensified. He booked the entire restaurant for 10 days. Qiangqian gave him an absurd rental price, hoping to scare him away. He paid it. She closed the restaurant and went into hiding and finally told Chang Yu about him. She thought he was someone she had known years ago. He sounded like that person. He moved like that person. But his voice was different, and his face wasn't burned anymore. She wanted to be rid of him. Then she proposed something Chang Yu didn't see coming. Qiangqian asked Yan Zheng to pose as her husband for one day to meet Min and put him off. The payment was generous. Yan Zheng was reluctant. Then he heard that Min was the same man hoarding 200,000 shy of grain in Jizu and crippling the supply lines. He agreed in a heartbeat. Min was visibly shaken when he met Yan Zheng. The fake husband across from him looked exactly like the supposedly dead Marquis of Wuan. Yan Zheng got straight to business. He asked about the grain. Min's guard stepped in. Yan Zheng broke a chopstick and threw the fragment at the paper door. Blood dripped through. One of Min's guards had taken the splinter through the eye. Min stopped pursuing Qiangqian. His attention had shifted entirely. He sent a subordinate to lure Yan Zheng to his side. The subordinate explained that Chancellor Wei had been quietly killing off everyone who had served under him 16 years ago. Anyone who might know what really happened at Jinzhou. Yan Zheng guessed Chang Yu's father had been one of those men. When asked to join Min's faction, Yan Zheng instead demanded the grain. Min agreed. On the new year, Qiangqian brought her son Bauer out of the underground room for the first time in months. The boy played with Changninghe. While the maid wasn't watching, the children wandered. An old woman approached and asked Bauer for his name and birth date. The child was smart enough to lie. The old woman was a spy for Min, and Min had already caught one of Qiangqian's servants and beaten the real information out of him. Bauer was Min's son. In the capital, Princess Qishu had been forced into a betrothal date with Li Huayan. She told him bluntly she wasn't interested. He told her he didn't want this either. Then she leaned closer and proposed something to him. The two of them whispered while her mother spied through the curtains and beamed, mistaking the conspiratorial closeness for affection. Chang Yu's grandfather called her to his bedside and finally told her the truth. Her father wasn't his biological son. 17 years ago, a man and his pregnant wife had arrived in Linen and paid him a great deal of money to take their family in. Their own son had been taken by traffickers. The uncle who had been pushing for the deed was his real son's replacement. A few days before her parents died, they'd come to the grandfather with a suicide note. They'd written it was better for them to die so their pursuers would leave the girls alone. The uncle had burned the suicide note to grab the deed. Yixiang restaurant was framed for poisoning a customer, and Qiangqian was arrested. She begged Chang Yu to take care of Bauer and hide him. Chang Yu hid the boy in the restaurant's secret room. Then she went to the magistrate's mansion, which had been seized by men loyal to Sui Yuan King, the rebel Prince Changshin's son. She negotiated with Sui Yuan King's men. She'd help save Magistrate Kui's life if they freed Qian. Yanzheng put on a mask and started moving through the chaos. He warned Constable Wang that any guard wearing a red ribbon was an imposter. They were arrested. Meanwhile, his blood-robed cavalry and General He Jingyuan's Jizu army intercepted the 200,000 shy of grain Sui Yuan King was hoarding and distributed it to the townsfolk to calm the unrest. Chang Yu disguised herself as a maid to rescue Magistrate Kui and ended up dueling Sui Yuan King directly. A soldier moved to stab her from behind. The masked Yan Zheng shot the man with a crossbow. Sui Yuan King realized the masked stranger was the Marquis of Wuan, and that the woman fighting him was the Marquis's wife. Yanzheng chased Sui Yuan King to the edge of a cliff and shot him over the side into the river below. He told her he'd be leaving in 3 days. She gave him soup, money, new clothes, new shoes, and a divorce paper. They argued. They provoked each other. She walked away and he chased her and kissed her, and she slapped him so hard it echoed. He kissed her again and told her to wait a year. She demanded to know why she should wait for anyone. He didn't have an answer. When she got home, she found what he'd left behind as a birthday gift, a handwritten wish, a pouch of silver, a pair of handmade wrist guards he'd worked on himself, leather, carefully stitched. She broke down completely. He left linen as Zhizheng, Marquis of Wuan, with his men riding behind him. The capital welcomed him back. Chancellor Wei welcomed his nephew with what looked on the surface like warmth. His treatment of Zhizheng was visibly better than his treatment of his own son. The military draft began immediately. Every man in linen was conscripted, even Mr. Zhao, even the Jin gang. When the soldiers came for Yan Zheng too, Chang Yu ran after the convoy and couldn't reach him. Chengqian decided to flee the town with Bauer and invited Chang Yu to come along. Chang Yu refused. She wanted to stay where her husband could find her again. That refusal saved her life. Chengqian's carriage was attacked on the road. She and Bauer were taken. The masked men worked for Sui Yuanhui. Sui Yuan King had survived the cliff. He'd been fished out of the river by Shi Sanyang, the female bandit chief of Qingfeng's stronghold who had fallen for him. He paid her bandits to attack Linan, not to loot it, to find Fan Changyu and use her as leverage against Zhizheng. They killed everyone: Constable Wang, Chef Li, the neighbors, Magistrate Kuei and his daughter, who had only just begun to be kind to her. Mrs. Song, who betrayed Chang Yu's location, was slaughtered for her trouble anyway. Across the country, Sui Yuanhui was using Bauer to force Chengqian to play the wife he wanted. He had her dressed in elegant robes like she belonged to him. When she tried to refuse, he killed servants in front of her one by one. Back in Linen, Mrs. Zhao survived by hiding with Changning in a shelter. Gossip Grandma, an old woman who had once thrown rice water at Chang Yu out of pettiness, gave her life to keep the children hidden. She went out fighting. She saved Chang Ning. Sui Yuan King cornered Chang Yu at the edge of a cliff. He told her to surrender. She looked at him, looked at the drop, and she jumped, not falling, jumping. Her choice, her refusal. She was caught by vines halfway down. Zhizheng's messenger bird had come back to him wounded, feathers stained with her blood, and he understood. He rode for Linen with 100 soldiers and arrived to smoke in bodies and silence. He sent the Gerfalcon out using the hair ribbon he'd snatched from her at their last fight and followed the trail himself. They found her hanging off the cliff face, tangled in vines, barely breathing. He pulled her up with his own hands and ordered the bandits hung on the city wall, gutted for 3 days. They reached a small farmhouse with only a blind old woman inside. She told him Chang Yu was dying of hypothermia and needed scraping therapy. The shirt would have to come off. Zicheng told the woman he was Chang Yu's husband. He did the treatment himself. He stayed with her through the night. When she had nightmares, he talked her through them. He put the blue hair ribbon back in her hair. He said to her unconscious face that he was going to marry her. Since she didn't reply, he decided that counted as agreement. When Chang Yu finally woke, she thought the 2 soldiers watching over her were bandits. She subdued them both, picked up the blind old woman, and fled. She ran straight into Li Huayan. Her wrist guards fell down the slope while they were talking. She climbed after them. She almost fell. A masked man in black caught her at the last second. It was Zhanglinghe. He was furious that she'd risked her life for wrist guards. She told him they were a gift from a friend. She didn't know it was him. He let her go with Li Huayan because he couldn't let Li Huayan see his face. She went back to what was left of Linen. She found Mrs. Zhao alive. She buried her grandfather, her aunt, the magistrate and his daughter, the constable, the chef, the neighbors. She put up nameplates over each one. She knelt before her parents' tablet in the ruin of the house and made them a promise. She would find Zhanglinghe. She would find her husband. She would avenge every single name on those grave markers. She kept all 3 promises. The grief didn't break her. It aimed her. Changyu went hunting child traffickers across Jizhou, freeing dozens of stolen kids and earning the nickname Butcher Beauty. She made one mistake, mistaking a father for a trafficker, and Li Huayan had to bail her out. Then she tracked another trafficker ring into enemy territory and ended up in a labor camp at a quarry. In the war camp, Zhanglinghe went to General He Jingyuan and asked finally what had happened to the fan couple. He Jingyuan admitted Changyu's father, Fan Ernyu, had been his comrade. He and his wife had killed themselves after being pressured by He Jingyuan himself on Chancellor Wei's orders. Zhanglinghe asked the general to spread a rumor that Changninghe was his daughter so the Sui brothers wouldn't kill her. At the quarry, Changyu was paired with a stubborn, arrogant old man named Tao Yi, who turned out to be the former Minister of Works and the current Grand Tutor of the Empire. He hid his identity for reasons of his own. Then the Jins arrived, conscripted from Linen, routed to forced labor. They swore loyalty to Changyu on the spot. The Northwest Pig Butcher Squad was born. They told each other everything that had happened in Linen. They vowed to avenge it together. Changyu made a deal with the supervising general, Pei Yi. If she could carry 2 massive baskets of stone up the mountain alone, her squad would get chicken. She used her father's technique to make the climb. The squad ate well that night. Tao Yi watched her with new eyes. Then he leaned over and told her, quietly, that the mud on her shoes had changed colors. She'd been scouting a hidden forest path. She reported what she'd found about the dam. Tao Yi saw through everything. Zhanglinghe's plan with General He Jingyuan and Gongsun Yin was to blow the dam and flood the enemy gorge. The catch was that the workers at the dam, half of them forced labor, would drown with the enemy. Tao Yi proposed a smarter design that would save half the lives. General Pei recognized he was talking to the Grand Tutor and listened. The order came that half the laborers had to go to the war. They drew lots. Changyu and the Jins drew the lots to stay. Tao Yi drew the lot to leave, but he knew the truth. The one staying would be blasted with the dam. He swapped his lot with Changyu's so she'd live. The Jins traded their own lots so they wouldn't be separated from her. 2 of them, Man Kang and Man Wu, overheard soldiers confirming the trap that night. They ran to tell her. She went back for Tao Yi. They reached him just as enemy spies broke into the camp. 3 of those spies escaped toward the rebel lines. If they reached the lines, the dam plan would fail. Changyu and her squad ran them down and killed all 3 before any signal flare could go up. On the battlefield, Zhanglinghe arrived with 1,000 soldiers to face Sui Yuan King. Sui Yuan King had brought a far larger army and had Changninghe chained beside him. Changninghe, upon seeing her brother-in-law, called him brother-in-law out loud and ruined the rumor that she was his daughter. Sui Yuan King went for the child. Zhanglinghe got there first and took the blade with his own body. He captured Sui Yuan King and rode hard for the gorge. The Northwest Pig Butcher Squad delivered their spy tokens to Zhanglinghe's officers as proof. They introduced themselves only by squad name. Zhanglinghe didn't connect the name to Changyu. He still believed she was somewhere in Jizhou with Li Huayan. He sent his bird with the message that her sister was safe. The squad arrived at the army camp with Tao Yi. Changyu reunited with Mr. Zhao, who'd survived the conscription, and with Li Huayan. Then Gongsun Yin bumped into her in the camp and brought her face to face with Changninghe. The reunion broke them both. Princess Chishu had arrived at the camp disguised as a volunteer imperial physician. Her maid was with her. Zhanglinghe was not happy to see them. The squad had helped them and the supplies get through arrow fire on the way in. Changyu had personally thrown the princess out of an arrow's path with such force that Chishu was both impressed and slightly afraid. Changyu was put to work in the medical tent. That was when she walked in and found Zhanglinghe on the bed. His guards immediately cleared the tent. She didn't notice. She just saw her husband. She brought the princess in to treat him without realizing the 2 of them already knew each other. Chishu had the priceless experience of watching the entire scene unfold and decided not to break it. She did, however, lecture Changyu loudly, right in front of Zhanglinghe, about handsome men who played tricks and lied to women. Changyu found Sui Yuan King in the camp. The squad dragged him to a mountain and beat him within an inch of his life for linen. Then they used him as leverage to force the enemy general Shi Yue to surrender meat and grain. They came back as heroes with badly needed supplies. The mission was also a clear violation of military law. Zhang had one of his men sit behind a screen and pretend to be the Marquis. The fake Marquis ordered Chang Yu 30 strokes. Zhang then insisted on taking the punishment in her place. Chang Yu didn't want her husband to take any more injuries. When the stroke started, she stepped behind him and shielded his body with her own. The fake Marquis behind the screen sweated through every second of the performance. Chang Yu had been calling herself Yan Zheng's wife for months. She'd traveled across a war zone to find him. She'd kept his wrist guards through a massacre, a cliff fall, and hypothermia. She'd almost died retrieving them from a slope. So when she walked into that tent looking for a man called Yan Zheng, and no one in the camp seemed to know who that was, something in the back of her mind had to have started connecting. The full-scale battle was coming. Chang Yu was terrified Zhang was still too injured to fight. So she did something legendary, hilarious, and very characteristic. She drugged his medicine. She put on a soldier's uniform. She took his place on the front line. Xie Wu, his loyal vice general, found her in the swamp and could only order the squad to protect her at any cost. She faced General Shi Hu, the enemy's terrifying armored warrior. Her butcher's knife broke against his armor on the first exchange. She grabbed his own mace when he dropped it, used his own technique against him, and beat him to death with his own weapon. The enemy retreated. The pig butcher squad was screaming her name. And then, through the crowd of cheering soldiers, came Zhang on horseback. He'd cut himself to burn the sedative out of his blood and ridden out half awake because she'd taken his place. The soldiers shouted his name, his title, the Marquis of Wuan. Chang Yu turned around. She looked at him on that horse. Everything landed at once. She ran. He was faster. He was on a horse. He grabbed her up onto the saddle and rode her away from the entire battlefield. She dismounted in the forest, furious in a way that had nowhere to go. He staked his sword in the ground and explained she'd saved him in the snow. He'd hidden his identity to protect her. The more people who knew he was alive, the more danger she was in. He was right about all of it. None of it made the lie any smaller. She said the man she had married was Yan Zheng. Yan Zheng didn't exist. As far as she was concerned, the agreement was void. That night, neither of them could sleep. They both ended up at the waterfall at the same time. He challenged her to a sparring match to break the tension. They fought until the anger dissolved into something else. They sat by the water afterward and ate fish he'd speared himself. He told her he'd never wanted to get married before because he knew it would only leave her a widow. But now he wanted to live. She told him she liked him, as either name. The next morning, Tao Yi came to visit her. He wanted to adopt her as his goddaughter. Zhang had begged him to. Tao Yi had laughed and pretended to grumble, then agreed. He gave her a courtesy name, Shanjun, fierce tiger of the mountains. A name usually reserved for high-status men. He was telling her, in the only way he knew how, that she belonged. Zhang forged her a pair of twin blades to replace the butcher's knife she'd broken against Shi Hu. He was told the blades needed to be tempered with blood to keep them from harming their user. He used his own. Around the same time, Zhang found Bauer hiding in the wilderness with the nanny's son Zhao Xun. Zhao Xun finally explained what he knew. 17 years ago, there had been a fire at the East Palace. The crown princess had smuggled her own son out by swapping clothes with another child. She'd disfigured her son's face with fire so he wouldn't be recognized later. Then she died in the flames with the swapped child. Her son grew up under a stolen identity as Sui Yuanhuai. His real name was Qi Min. He was the rightful imperial grandson, and Bauer was his son. The Qi Min who'd been terrorizing Qianqian was the real Qi Min. The one who had saved him from the river years ago without flinching at his burned face was the only person who had ever shown him kindness as a stranger. He was dangerous in the way only deeply lonely people can be. Qianqian finally drugged Sui Yuanhuai and escaped. She ran into Chang Yu in the forest just as Yuanhuai's men closed in. Xie Qi, Zhang's secret guard, signaled General He Jingyuan's army. Yuanhuai withdrew. The group retreated to Lucheng to prepare for the final battle. At Lucheng, General He gave Chang Yu her father's old armor and her new twin blades. He promised to tell her everything about her father after the battle. Chang Yu reunited with Zhang on the battlefield. They split forces. He went after Sui Yuanqing. She faced Prince Changxin himself, Sui Tuo. While fighting her, he recognized her movements and told her that only two men in the empire had ever used that technique, Ha Jingyuan and Wei Qilin. He used his last breath to call Wei Qilin a traitor. Chang Yu combined the techniques she'd been taught by Xie Zheng, General He and her father, and finished him. The battle ended the rebellion. General He Jingwan died. So did Man Dai, the youngest member of the Pig Butcher Squad, the boy she'd given her savings to before the battle. He'd left her a letter. Her father's real name was Wei Qilin. He had served beside Xie Zheng's father and Chancellor Wei in the Battle of Jinzhou 17 years ago. He had been branded a traitor for failing to deliver provisions. He had died running so the brand wouldn't follow his daughters, which meant Chang Yu was the daughter of the man the entire empire believed had killed Xie Zheng's father. The memorial day for Xie Zheng's father and the funeral for General He Jingyuan fell on the same day. The mourners brought a paper effigy of Wei Qilin to burn. Chang Yu defended him in front of the entire crowd without telling them who she was to him. They turned on her. Xie Zheng had to step in to keep her alive. After that day, she started calling him by his title instead of his name. Distance. She didn't tell him what was weighing on her. He didn't push. She was promoted to 5th-rank cavalry commandant. The Jizhu army was split between her and Li Huayan. She became a target between two factions before she even arrived in the capital. In court, the emperor moved to marry Princess Qishu off to the Marquis of Wuan. Xie Zheng's reply was to ignore the edict and cut the eunuch's ear off when the edict was read to him. He went to find Chang Yu privately and promised her he had no intention of becoming a prince consort. His heart belonged to her. He promised to help her uncover the truth about Jinzhou. Princess Changxin confronted Sui Yuan Huai about his identity. She and her husband had always known he wasn't their real son. Yuan Huai killed her. He faked his own death. Zhao Xun identified that the body wasn't his. Xie Zheng sent Zhao Xun to find Sui Wenqing in his cell and tell him the truth, hoping to turn the brothers against each other. Sui Yuanqing went to confront Qi Min. He couldn't bring himself to kill the man he'd called brother. Qi Min did not have that problem. He stabbed Sui Yuanqing and walked away. Li Huayan arrived after the fight was over. Qi Min ordered him to find Qian Qian and bring her and to kill Bauer. He threatened the entire Li family if Huayan refused. Sui Yuanqing was somehow still alive when Shi Sanyang found him. She asked him if he had ever felt anything for her. He denied it. He gave her the tiger seal of the Sui army and told her to bring it to Chang Yu so she could have a better life. Then he killed himself by cutting his own head off. That same week, Gongsun Yin finally told Princess Qishu the truth. His family had a rule that no Gongsun would ever serve in court because of how the line had ended in tragedy in the past. He promised that after Xie Zheng took down the Wei and Li factions, he would propose. Qishu accepted. That night at a celebration in Linan, Chang Yu got drunk. Xie Zheng carried her back to her room. She called him your lordship. It angered him. He told her to call him by another name. She called him Yan Zheng. They ended up kissing against the window, hard enough to tear the paper. Chang Yu rode into the capital in her Zanhua crown, a flower crown general in 4th rank, and the whole city stopped to look at her. Women threw silk handkerchiefs at her. Children stared. The puppet emperor Qisheng tried to flirt with her in court. She handled it the same way she had handled everything else. Focused, practical, faintly disgusted. Her former fiancé Song Yan had become a scholar in the Ministry of Rites and was assigned to teach Chang Yu etiquette. The Pig Butcher Squad bullied him relentlessly. He didn't recognize Xie Zheng and called him a matrilocal husband to his face. Xie Zheng's expression alone got Song Yan fired before sundown. Xie Zheng came in for his own ceremonial return shortly after. He wore the long pheasant feather crown. He rode in slowly, ignoring every silk handkerchief in the air until he came to where Chang Yu was standing in the crowd. She didn't have a silk handkerchief. She threw him her hair tie. He caught it with one hand, smiled, and rode on. Every other young woman in the capital street suddenly had a personal grievance with Fan Chang Yu. Then the price came due. Xie Zheng went to meet his uncle at the Xi family memorial hall. Wei Yan ordered him to break ties with Chang Yu, the daughter of the man Wei Yan had framed for his own crime. Xie Zheng refused. Wei Yan invoked Xi family law as if he had the right to. He caned Xie Zheng 180 times. When Chang Yu arrived to find him, he was barely conscious, blood through his robes. He brought her to his parents' graves. They knelt together in the falling snow, and he introduced her as his wife. Chen Qian had been playing a long game, captured by Qi Min, dressed by him in empress robes, treated by him like she was already his queen. She'd played along to keep her son and her remaining servants alive. She made him kneel to propose. She delayed her answer. When he finally let his guard down and slept beside her, she stole his tiger tally and sent it to Changyu through her loyal maid. At a palace banquet, Zhang, Princess Qishu, and a witness were drugged with aphrodisiacs as part of a trap by Qi Min and Grand Tutor Li. The cold palace caught fire with Qishu still inside. Gongsun Yin ran in and pulled her out. She wasn't breathing. He performed a method of resuscitation he'd been taught by Chen Qian, who in another time would have called it CPR. He asked the others to claim it was an imperial physician who saved her. The princess woke up to him watching over her. The truth came out the same night. Qi Min had set the fire. The tiger tally Chen Qian thought she had stolen had been a fake. Qi Min had been pretending to sleep. Her maid was murdered at Chang Yu's doorstep delivering it. The puppet emperor shifted the blame to the eunuch. Zhang unsheathed the imperial sword he'd been given and killed the eunuch in the emperor's name. Wei Yan slapped the emperor across the face and warned him that this exact pattern had happened 17 years ago. The aphrodisiac was still in Zhang's blood by the time they got home. They consummated their fake marriage in his bathtub. The pig butcher squad told Ziwu not to bother fetching the imperial physician. Shi Sanyang arrived at the Marquis's mansion with Sui Yuan King's severed head and the real tiger tally. She was done with revenge. Changyu, despite Linan, agreed to help her start a new life. Sanyang had been kind to Changning once. That, in Changyu's bookkeeping, mattered. With the real tiger tally, Changyu went to strike the Dengwen drum and file an imperial appeal. According to custom, anyone filing a grievance against a chancellor had to parade through the streets and voice the grievance publicly first. The same crowds who had thrown silk to her weeks earlier threw rotten vegetables now. She was the traitor's daughter in their eyes. She walked anyway. Zhang had dreamed of his mother. He took out the box of moldy osmanthus cake she'd given him as a child. Underneath the box was a second compartment. Inside was a letter from Consort Shu, the woman Wei Yan had loved, to Wei Yan himself. A plea for help that had drawn him away from the front at Jinzhou 17 years ago. A plea that had been forged. His mother had known. She had hidden the letter so her son could one day clear her husband's name. Then she'd let herself die. Qi Min stormed the palace. He came with his own army through gates that had been secretly opened by Grand Tutor Li, who had decided to back the imperial grandson. He sat on the throne. He brought Chen Qian in chains, dressed in the empress robes he'd made for her. The puppet emperor handed him the imperial seal without a fight. Zhang went to the city gate. For the first and last time, he and Wei Yan fought side by side, holding the gate together against Qi Min's forces. Li Huayan broke out of his grandfather's house arrest and led his soldiers in to free the puppet emperor, who'd gone mad from terror. Qi Min took an arrow meant for Chen Qian. He stepped in front of it. He went over the palace wall with her chained to him. Changyu caught Chen Qian's chain as they fell and held her. Qi Min, knowing his weight would drag both of them down, deliberately slipped his own hand free of the shackle. He fell heavily. He spat blood. He fainted. The truth came out that same night. Princess Qishu confronted her mother. The crown princess had been killed by the former emperor himself. He'd replaced the palace water cisterns with oil. He'd forged Consort Shu's letter to lure Wei Yan away from the front. Wei Yan had abandoned Jinzhou for love and been used by a monster. Wei Qilin had carried the blame. Zhang's father had died for nothing. Changyu's mother had killed herself. Linen had been massacred. All of it began with one paranoid emperor afraid of his own son's power. Qi Min died in Chen Qian's arms. She was brought to his cell to deliver the poison sentence. She brought it in soup. He knew. He asked her one last time who she really was. She didn't answer. She only told him she'd come from very far away and couldn't go back. He called her a liar. He still drank. Before he died, he told her he had fallen in love with her the day she saved him from the river. Because she hadn't flinched at his burned face, because she had seen him, the real version. He said he hoped they wouldn't meet again in their next life. He died. She held him. Bao'er became the emperor. He was renamed Qi Yu. He was 6 years old and serious, and already trying to propose marriage to Chang Ning, who didn't understand the weight of it, and Pinky promised him back. Chen Qian became Empress Dowager, and gently explained that the emperor would have to wait until he was older and ask again. Zhang became Prince Regent. Fan Changyu was promoted to Grand General of Huaihua, first in rank. Wei Qilin's name was cleared and given the title Count Zhongyong. Her maternal grandfather, the late General Meng Shuyuan, received the title Marquis Wusu. Li Huayan asked to be sent to the border to atone for his collusion with Qi Min. The Li family donated their entire fortune to the country in shame. 1 year later, Wei Yan drank poisoned wine prepared by Zhejiang's own hand, not as revenge, as mercy. They drank tea together first. Zhejiang, Changyu, Changning, and the Jins went home. She acknowledged the Zhaos as her foster parents in front of the whole town. 5 years later, when a foreign country attacked the Great Yin, Zhejiang and Fan Changyu rode out together in matching armor. By then, they had 2 children. The eldest carried the Z name, the younger carried the Meng name, after her mother's side, so that both wronged families would never be erased again. The woman who had pawned her mother's hairpin to save a stranger in the snow became the highest-ranking general in the empire. The stranger she saved became the man who ran the country. And somewhere between the pigpen and the throne room, between the fake marriage and the real one, between all the lies and the one truth they kept coming back to, she stayed herself the whole way through. That's the thing about Jade. The value was always in her. He'd told her so himself. Late in the story, when the capital was watching and everyone around them was trying to decide what she was worth, he'd told her she wasn't the Jade being pursued. She was the Jade. He'd been chasing her since the snow. He got beaten 180 times. He forged her weapons and sealed them with his own blood. He stood at his parents' graves and introduced her as his wife in the falling snow. He drank tea with the uncle who raised him and then handed that uncle a cup of poison the next year. Because that's what justice looked like in a country he had just rebuilt. She jumped off a cliff rather than be used against him. She drugged him so he wouldn't die in a battle she could fight in his place. She walked through a hail of rotten vegetables to clear her father's name. She caught a chained woman in mid-air to save the friend she loved more than her own safety. Neither of them said it easily. Neither of them made it simple. But at every single point where one of them could have let go, they didn't. That was Pursuit of Jade. If you enjoy stories that dig into the uncomfortable parts of the human psyche and challenge the way you watch the screen, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in the next immersion.